how has your journey been through college? You're majoring in architecture.
Yeah.
So how has that been?
It's been pretty exciting. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like every after you finish every project, you feel like the um like like sometimes after you're done and you sit down and you think about it, it's like wow, like I
I
produced
built
another
this.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah, produced another project. Like all the work that I took in or like research and stuff like that. Like it feels good. The result after you finish like a studio, you feel good. I feel good. Hopefully everyone else does feel good. It's just it's nice to have your work develop from what it like an idea to like a final product. I guess you can say, yeah.
Because I remember I'm pretty sure you were there in the class with Miss Hernandez.
Oh yeah.
And I remember that she used. I remember because she was heavy on her students being like engineers or architectures or something within that realm, right? And I remember there was this one day where she showed us an equation, and she hit play, and with that equation, like it made a bridge. I don't know if you remember that day.
I don't think I remember specifically that day, but I know for sure she was like a big help to all of us. Yeah. And she always pursued like wanted us to like aspire something.
But I remember that day so vividly, like when she made a bridge out of an equation, and I'm like, this is like it's making us like it's showing us that this work and these numbers could produce real life and physical things. And I remember just saying that's so cool. But at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's like my career that I want to go through, you know. But I just thought that was so cool, man. Like I feel like if I was like an engineering student or I wanted to do architecture, that would have been like the point where I trace back like my origins of wanting to do that career. Have you seen like what type of work do you do as an engineering student? Like when you're talking about like these projects, is it more like online in the software, like planning things out and building things out, or have you actually like had hands-on experience?
For sure. As an architecture student, they teach you like they teach you early on that you have to wear different hats. Like you have to be knowledgeable to understand the work that your like teammates are doing. Like, and I say teammates by like when you do go off and work in the field, like there's gonna be like a structural engineer, there's gonna be like the what's it called, basically the other team members that are helping you build the project, because you won't do it alone, and they tell you
the guy surveying the land.
Yeah, they tell you won't be doing it alone for sure. It's a collaborative
team project.
Yeah, like when you're doing like real work in the field and stuff like that, like in real world, you for sure have a team. So then they mention to you that you don't even know all these things. Like let's say for like structure wise, like you don't really have to be doing the math or anything like that, because there's an expert that has a degree in that field. So this like instead of you doing that or taking care of that,
there's an expert.
Yeah, there's always an expert. So like it's fine if you're not the expert for all these things, because there's always going to be an expert that does like the concrete or the windows or like the doors or stuff like that, or the interior designer that does the inside stuff like that, or like the landscape architect that does the outside stuff like that, right? So then you don't have to be like the one that does everything, because then that's just, I feel like you're throwing too much work on yourself when there's experts that went to school for these specific things that you're doing or that you need done. So then for sure they taught us early on that you're going to be wearing different hats. So then that means you're just going to have to like know how to communicate with them and stuff like that. So in that terms, you do gain a lot of information, because you need to design. For us, we usually design the building or the project or whatever we're working with, and then from that it comes like a lot of research that deals with like environment, the sun, like the people too, where your project's gonna be at, like how to benefit them, or even just like the surroundings from them, like I'm close to parks, or I'm close to schools, or I'm close to restaurants.
Have you seen that one building that they built that was like the way that the sun hit it just made like a car melt?
Oh really?
Yeah, there was this one thing where they built, it was like, I don't know, sometimes I look up like random stuff on YouTube, where sometimes random stuff pops up, and there was this one like, the biggest constructions that were torn down or something like that.
So there was melting stuff?
Yeah, so it was like a straight glass building, but the way the sun hit it in that angle just made it hit the street so hard that it started melting cars.
Damn.
And I think that's like the type of stuff that you gotta look out for.
Yeah, honestly, stuff like
so
that.
everything could be like structurally sound, you know?
Yeah. Right now we're working on a project. It's called the Solar Decathlon.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm doing drone videography for it too, and it's a single family housing that's a dorm for students at the school that I'm at, which is Woodbury University, and it's 3D printed technology, so they're 3D printing the walls up to a certain height and then having a roof that becomes built on top of it. But that project is pretty dope because it's the first California like student dorm 3D printed house. It's a smaller house in the back of where the dorms are at. Pretty exciting stuff. They're gonna start 3D printing it this upcoming week. So pretty dope stuff with that. And then that's like a studio that I did last semester, which is like a studio that most students won't experience because they're building a project during school. Like it's like I'm working like in a small little office, a quote unquote office, but it's getting done. Like the project's getting built while we're still in school, which is like a really dope experience to have as a student, as an architecture student.
You're gonna be part of the history.
But yeah. We'll be recording it too.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you've seen, but I've done posts out there from like drone stuff from a school. Well, that's the project.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll check it out again. I was gonna ask you, what? Because I know that because I majored in finance, and I feel that majoring in that made me kind of open my eyes to all these different careers I could get. So majoring in architecture, like, what are the different careers that someone could get being majoring in that?
I feel like there's a bunch of them. Also, something they talked to us about like in the beginning is they told us like, cause it is a hard field. Not gonna lie, that it's like going to school for architecture is pretty tough. There are nights where like you don't sleep because you got to produce work, and then you go the reviews. You basically go to get critiqued, basically, right? You're finding a review, you're getting critiqued by a jury of people telling you either your work is good or it needs improvement and stuff like that. But they've told us that like in the beginning when we first started our first like studio days, like not all you guys are gonna graduate. I mean, not all you guys are gonna become architects like when you grow up, right? And it's fine. But he was also stressing that the field opens your eyes and your way of thinking to like branch out into different niches and go into different interests that you have. And I feel that is true because like now that I'm about to graduate, I feel like it's opened me to have like a niche in like my clothing brand and even stuff like design wise. Like I feel like now I'm into design in general. And then I feel like now it's more of like industrial design, like designing things, like simple things, like even just like the idea of a toothbrush, right? Like someone had to design a toothbrush and how it works and stuff like that. So like things like that, I feel like I've gotten into more, and I kind of want to like push like that realm a little more, like just designing stuff like that, like for example, like the toothbrush I said, or like a spoon or a fork or stuff like that. Like home decor stuff like that is interesting to me too. And it's like a bunch of architects also did stuff like furniture or like painting or like photography. Like there's always like someone or some of them that have
because you're very observant when it comes to like the world now because of your career.
Honestly, you do become more observant and you have to like think about other people or other aspects in their environment, and that's what they taught us too.
Oh, now that you said that, I'm curious. Has there been ever something where you're looking at maybe at a room or maybe like an object, like you mentioned furniture, and you're like, and you think about why it was designed like that, and have you ever thought I could do something better, or like I feel like I could design something better? Yeah,
you know what it is. The sinks at school, or specifically there's like, or just sinks in general. Sometimes I feel like the faucet sometimes is too close to the and it's like when you're washing your hands,
you gotta touch the faucet.
My knuckles are hitting the side where I wouldn't want it to get hit, and it's like, oh man, I'm washing my hands and it's getting hit. Like that's kind of annoying. So I would wish like stuff like that gets designed better, you know, stuff like that's like, and that's what I'm interested in too. Like like people had to design stuff like that.
And then you gotta think about like why did they design it?
Like why did they put it so close?
And thinking about it now, it's probably for a splash.
Maybe, honestly.
And then I've also seen some of the sinks where it's like the regular sink, and then they have like two tubes that come out like this way.
Yeah.
And you're like, you don't want me to get clothes up in there? Or what? I gotta bend over and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's something. I think that's something amazing.
Like there's
because now I'm thinking like, damn, George is probably gonna invent something in the near future. Like he's probably gonna be an inventor now.
Honestly, that's funny you bring that up because before when I was younger, I always wanted to be an inventor.
Really?
I think yeah, but I always wanted to do things. I didn't know what, but I felt like an inventor was always something that was in the back of my mind, just inventing things.
You know what I wanted to be when I was a kid? I wanted to be an architect.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, because I just thought it was like, well, I was always told there was math involved, and I was always really good at math as a kid, and then I've always used to love drawing, and I'm like, and so they kind of threw it at me like, oh, be an architect, you know.
That one does get thrown at you if you like to draw or like math.
Yeah.
It's like here, architecture is for you, bro. Yeah.
So I feel like that's why it would get thrown at me as a kid, and I would always think about it like, oh, it must be pretty cool designing houses and stuff like that.
But that's what I got. That's how it basically got thrown to me too. Yeah, like it was not. I wasn't really into drawing a lot, but math for sure, math, and then I was into Legos, so building, right, like making stuff. So it's like math and making stuff, architecture, right? That's how I got it thrown into me, and then I rolled with it. And then
I remember they would always tell you like, are you someone that's curious and wants to know how things work? And I'm like, yeah, I mean that sounds like me. Like I like to know how things work.
Yeah.
So that's something that was that gets thrown at you, huh?
Yeah, it was. When they see those those interests of you, like, oh yeah, architecture, do that.
Cause so have you had any like funny memes that you've seen while you're in college? Cause I know for us, like in the business majors, it's always seen like, oh, the accounting people, they're more shy, finance people, they're more talkative, things like that. What do you think would be different between an architecture and like an engineering student?
I'm not too sure, but I know that they kind of make fun of like all-nighters. Like a bunch of us sometimes do all-nighters. I recently stopped doing all-nighters. I go to sleep now. I think it's better. I think it's because then before I would be like, let me just stay up and knock it out, right? But then it's just like, let me just go to sleep and wake up early. Yeah. So then now I just go to sleep and wake up early. Because
my little brother, he's an engineering student, and he's always sending me memes about like, you being an engineering student and having to produce like this work while your business major friend has to do coloring or something. And he's always like dissing me with my major and stuff like that.
That's funny.